Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute mini Cindy Lou Who. She is all one piece, and then we will have to do a little bit of embroidering and then attach the little bow. And then I've also made her in the plush yarn following this exact same pattern. For this video I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 10 millimeter safety eyes. And for the plush version I used a number 6 blanket yarn, a 5.5 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything. So grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we are going to begin at the top of the head, and you can start your rows any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be making a knot with the loop on the end, so what I do is I fold my yarn in half. I'm going to pinch it up at the top, wrap that around my finger, bring it down and through to make my knot. Then I'm going to catch that loop and pinch it in my fingers, and I'm just going to slide my knot up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember, that is not going to count as a stitch. That just attaches our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into that loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then pull that tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for row 2, we are going to do 8 increases. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 16. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4 in the same stitch. Increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, increase 11 and 12, increase 13 and 14, increase 15 and 16. Row 3, we are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 20. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3 single crochets, and an increase for 4 and 5, and repeat that around. 6, 7, 8, increase 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, increase 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, increase 19 and 20. Row 4, we are going to do 4 single crochets, a 1 increase. Repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 5, and 6. And repeat that around. 7, 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24. Row 5, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Our next row, we're going to be going in the front loop. So if you've never done that before, when you do your usual crochet, you come down and you go under the 2 V's in your stitch. So when we're going in the front loops, we're going to come down and up in between the 2 V's and catch those front loops, and leaving these back loops because we're going to need those for the next row. So for row 6 in the front loops, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And you're going to tie that off. Leave yourself a bit of a tail. And now you're going to want to get your face color. And we're going to be attaching. You can attach yours any way you prefer. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. We're going to be going in the back loop, so that's that little ridge that you have now. So these are all your back loops from doing the row before. And if you need to help finding your very first back loop, you're going to find your first stitch from the previous row. You're just going to flip that over, follow it around, and then right there is your first back loop. Now we're going to attach our yarn. Pull that through. Try and leave the knot on the inside if you can. And we're just going to chain 1. And that's not going to count as a stitch. That's just our attaching stitch. And for row 7 in the back loops, starting in that same stitch you attach to the yarn, we're going to do 24 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll notice I'm folding that row down so that I can get to my back loops really easy. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, we are going to start with 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do what I call a double crochet cluster of 4. So we're going to yarn over, go into that next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, grab your yarn, go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that'll be 1, yarn over, go in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1, 2, yarn over, go in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, yarn over, go in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. You should have 5 loops on your hook now. And then you're going to grab your yarn and go through all 5 loops. Give it a bit of a pull. You might have to push your ear out. And then we are going to do 9 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now we're going to do our second ear, double crochet cluster of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go through all 5 loops on your hook, give it a pull, and then we should have 7 single crochets left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 9, we are going to be doing 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 10, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th one we're going to change to our white collar color. So you're going to go in, grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on your hook, and we can cut this color now because we're done with it. Leave yourself a bit of a tail for tying. Then you're going to take your new color, tie it to your old color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And then you're going to take that new color, pull it through those 2 loops to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Now we're going to be going in the front loops again. So remember, you're going to come down under the stitch and then up through the V's. And for row 11, in the front loops, we're going to do 24 single crochets. 1, 2, oops, I got 2 there, just the front loop, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, the last one, doesn't want to cooperate, whoop, 24. And then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and we'll tie that off. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail. Now you're going to grab your dress color, and we're going to be attaching this, so you can attach any way you prefer. I'll be making my knot with the loop on the end. And now we're going to be going in these back loops. I forgot to mention it on the hair, but make sure that you are going from the inside to, or the outside to the inside, and you're also still going in the same direction you were before, or your little guy will end up inside out. All right, so insert in that back loop, attach your yarn, pull through, chain 1, and remember that's just going to be attaching our yarn, it doesn't count as a stitch. And for row 12, starting in that same stitch that you attached your yarn, 24 single crochets in the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 13, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 14, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 15, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 16, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Our next row, we're going to be going in the front loops again. And we're going to start by doing a little picot stitch. So we're going to do a single crochet, 1 chain, and a single crochet all in the same stitch. And then we're going to do 1 slip stitch. And then we're going to repeat that same sequence all the way around. So picot, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the same stitch, and then 1 slip stitch. Repeat that again. Picot, slip stitch, 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 picot. Oops, I went under both there instead of the front loop. So I'm still on my picot. And then a slip stitch to finish off that row. And then let's add the eyes now. So let's take our hook out and get those ready. And now for these little eyes, we are going to be using the ears for placement. So what we're going to do is we're going to find our very last stitch of the ear. So right where that hole is, I'm 2 rows down and 2 rows up right in the middle. So you're going to go into that hole, skip a hole, and then go into that 3rd hole. Same thing on the other side. Find the hole right beside your ear, skip a hole, go in that next hole. And you should have 4 holes in between your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you're happy with where they are, let's put the backs on. And then let's add a little bit of stuffing now. And what you want to do is have it about 2/3 full. So it's full enough that you don't have to add a bunch of stuffing at the very end, but it's not so full that the stuffing's in your way when you do the next couple of rows. So I'm going to go about like that. Let's get our hook back in. And before we move on to the next row, I'm just going to chain 1 or 2 just so that I can get back to that back loop without pulling this little stitch too much. So I need to find that back loop. So I find my first little picot there, flip it over, follow it around, and that'll be my first back loop. So for row 18, in the back loops, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 16. So 1 single crochet for 1, decrease for 2, single crochet for 3, decrease for 4, single crochet for 5, decrease for 6. Look, that stuffing just pop right out. Single crochet for 7, decrease for 8, single crochet for 9, decrease for 10, single crochet for 11, decrease for 12, single crochet for 13, decrease for 14, single crochet for 15, and a decrease for 16. We only have 1 more row left, so let's get whatever stuffing we need to get in there now. And when you're doing this, you want to kind of have your stuffing going to the corners instead of rounding out the bottom so that it'll sit flat. And when you're ready, row 19, we are just going to do 8 decreases. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, 6 decreases, 7 decreases, and 8 decreases. Then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Tie that off. Leave yourself a long tail in case you want to come up through the head and make a loop or something as an option in the future. And we're not going to close this up because we're going to put all our embroidery ends up through the bottom. I'm going to take my stitch marker out because I don't need that for anything now. And let's put these little ends in the head. So I'm going to start with the hair. I'm just going to come down into one of the stitches, kind of weave my way a bit till I get to the where the hair and the face color meet, and then I'm just going to come out the bottom. You may have to pull that out a bit. Let's put the collar one on. And same thing, go through a bit of the stitch, weave in until you get between the pink and the face color. Then come out the bottom. And then if you want, you can just tie those two together. Just so they won't pop out. Now you're going to grab yourself a little bit of whatever color you use to do the face. We'll thread that on. We're going to do that little hands now. We're going to come up through the bottom. And we're going to come up 2 rows down in the pink. So 1, 2, so right there between 2 and 3, and centered under the middle of the eye. So just like that. And we're going to go to the inside. Leave yourself a little bit of a tail for tying, and we're just going to wrap around this one stitch 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then on your 4th one, you're going to go in and go over to the other side and do the same thing. So in that same row, centered underneath the middle of your eye, we're going to go around 4 times towards the center around that one little stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then on your 4th one, come out the bottom for tying. And look, mine look a little bit different. So one's a little tighter than the other. So I'm just going to come to this side, put my hook under all 4 strands, and just give it kind of a wiggle and a pull, and that'll kind of make them look more even. Let's give that a tie. And now we'll give her a little mouth, and all I'm going to do is take one of my strands of regular black yarn, and I'm splitting it to take 1 strand. So this one has 3. I've already stolen one. It usually will have 4. Then I'm just going to pull that apart, and then we'll thread that on. If you have embroidery thread, that will work a lot better. Whoop. And we're going to come up through the bottom again. We're going to come in this one stitch right beside the eye, the little hole there. And we're going to be coming down, skipping a stitch, and going over here. So we're going to go down, over here, down. So when I come down, I want to use this hole right here beside to find my center. And I'm usually just catching a little bit of a stitch. So I'm just catching a tiny bit of that stitch right underneath, and then I'm going to come over to this other side. Pull that through, and then you're going to come down back in that same spot and go out the bottom for tying. And don't pull these too tight. And then we'll tie them on the bottom loosely at first, and then a little tighter as you go. As soon as your knot stops slipping when you pull, you know you've got it tight enough. And then now I'm going to grab some white. I did try and add some little detail on the front, but they're not very even or nice looking. So for this one I did 4. I'm going to do 3 now and see if it looks a little better, because when I did the bigger one I did 3 and I thought it looked a little better, but it could just be the thicker yarn. So So let's thread on our white. We're going to come up the bottom, leaving a little bit for tying. I'm going to start at this first row where the hands are, and I'm just going to go around the stitch. That's pretty much my center. And then I'm going to come around this next stitch in the next row right underneath. You want to try and make them even. So see, that one's going to be not even. So I'm going to see what it's like if I just catch a middle of this stitch and then come over. So I'm going back in that same hole and catching a piece of the stitch, and hopefully that'll keep it more even. Go into this hole and then go down one more row and try the same thing. So I'm going to come up the stitch this time, trying to stay straight and not pulling it too hard. Well, that doesn't look too bad there. And then go around again and out the bottom for tying. Okay, so 3 looks a little better. They're a little bit cockeyed, but not quite as bad as my first attempt. So we'll tie that up and then give that a cut. All right, let's close her up now. And if you don't want to see all these little pieces through, you can always put a little tiny bit of stuffing in the middle and just hide all those little ends. It's not so bad if you have a dark color, but if you're using a really light color, you don't want to have that showing. Now let's thread on our closing tail. And all you're going to do is weave in and out of these top loops all the way around. And if you're doing this in plush yarn, try just doing a couple at a time and then giving it a pull. And that will help if your yarn breaks really easy. Alright, there's my knot, so I'm right at the end here. I'm just going to give that a nice pull to close that up, and then I'm going to tie it in the next stitch. And then go up the center and out the top of the head, right in that starting loop. Now we're going to make the bow, and before you get started, cut yourself a little bit of red or whatever color your bow is going to be. This is what we're going to use to tie around the bow and to attach it to the head. And then we're going to make a chain. So however you make your chain, I'm going to be making a knot with a loop on the end. Insert your hook, and then we are going to chain 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Now I'm going to be just kind of folding this around in a strange way to make my bow. If you want to tie your bow, you're going to need more chains. So just double check whatever way you want to make your bow before you tie off. So I'm at 30. I'm going to tie off. All right, I want to get my tying yarn facing this way because we're going to be laying it over top. And kind of make sure that your chain is straight. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these two ends about 3 or 4 stitches up. I'm going to do 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're just going to cross them. Now this is going to give me short ends, and then we're going to pull this up so we can find the top center, and we're just going to bring that down to where we crossed our ends. So that's going to be our bow. We're not tying anything. Then you're going to lay that on top of your string about in the middle, and then you're going to tie a knot. Let's see if it'll stay there while I tie my knot. And I want that knot to be on the bottom or the back, or I guess it could be there. No, I don't know how it's going to look. I know I want it in the back, so let's put it in the back. So I'm just kind of scooching it around. Then I'm going to tie it fairly tight, but I just want to double check before I commit to tying it that my bow is even. So we got our short little ends, and then these seem to be about the same length, maybe a little. This one might be a little bit shorter, so I'm just going to pull it a little bit. Double check again, seems about the same. And once you're happy with the shape of it, you'll just tie that knot a lot tighter now, and then make a second knot to secure it. So there's your little bow. Now we're going to take whatever string is closer to the bottom, and we're going to be going around the 3rd row of the head. So make sure you're in the center. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to be going around this row. And I picked the bottom string, so I want to go on the underside of that 3rd row and up. Make sure it's twisted the right way. There's a lot of strings, but I'll go slow and show you different parts. All right, so we got our 1 string through. We're going to take our other string, and we're just going to tie those 2 together on the back side. Nice and tight, and then we're going to put it inside the head. So right in that same hole where you came out, between rows 2 and 3, and then just out somewhere. I think I can reach the bottom, so I'm going to do that. Give it a good pull. You may have to kind of puff up your hair again. Let's just double check. Now when I did the big one, I put these ends in so that they stayed flat. I didn't do it on this one, so I'm just going to cut these. Just make sure you don't cut them too short because you don't want this to undo your starting knots or your tie-off knot. And then just kind of pull it however you want it to sit. And there we go. Oh, we didn't cut this. Better do that. And there we go. I know I kind of rushed through this one this morning. Didn't even exist this morning, so I hope you guys like this one. It's kind of a quickie. By yourself, I don't know if it qualifies as who we're making here, but with the Grinch and Max, I think it'll work. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does it help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care be safe, and happy crocheting.